2024 was a big old year for spring football, and Zach and I are here to talk about it. And this year in the UFL, that and much more on episode 93 of the UFL podcast.
1, 2, 3.
Everybody to another amazing edition of the UFL podcast. I'm the ref representing Pro Football Newsroom, the leaders in spring football news, and boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, do we got a big week for you, because we're not even talking about this week, we're talking about this year in the UFL. But before we get started, I'm joined, as always, by my man, Zach Kallman. How you doing today, my friend?
I feel so relaxed from a long, much-needed cruise in the Caribbean. Got back in the swing of things at work this past week. Feeling good, feeling refreshed, and ready for what is a very fast-approaching season upon us, and plenty of stuff that is making me feel being very cheery and bright about my Panthers coming up for 2025. So I'm loving it right now. I'm doing fantastic. The holiday cheer is being extended a little bit forward past the Christmas Day festivities, which, by the way, I got to ask, what'd you do for Christmas, man? How was your Christmas on the home front?
It was good. It was good. If you all been paying attention to my X, I put out an X post bringing a turntable back from the dead, the Techniques SLDL5. Linear arm, quartz tracking. I mean, I'm signed up, and because of that, I've been going down the Frank Zappa rabbit hole. I was a fan of Frank Zappa back in the day, and I forgot how much of a fan of Frank Zappa I was. He's actually an amazing artist. One of the things that I appreciate that he does is some of his albums are a mix of live performances and in-studio post-production, to where he'll record a version or multiple versions of a song. And he was crazy, and he recorded everything. All of his concerts, everything he did around the house, video, everything. So all of his concerts have minimum 24-track recording. And so what he would do, there's songs where, like, the drums are from one concert, the bass is from, like, another concert, this is from in the studio, and it mixes all together. He's a madman. And his career, he by the end of his career, he was doing like orchestral productions as a conductor, right? And so if you maybe not any Frank Zappa fan, but most Frank Zappa fans.
From what I know of Frank Zappa, that does not sound like Frank Zappa, but it is Frank Zappa. Apparently.
Frank Zappa fans would tell you, no, he's not a musician. He's a composer, and he's not in a jam band, because jam bands improvise, and he's very meticulous. So Frank Zappa is a madman, and before I get it in the comments, I'm not saying he's a great person in real life. I'm not here to discuss that, but I think the same applies for any rock and roll musician. I don't know if any of them were class act guys, but he made amazing music. And so I've been jamming out to that. Was a long way of me saying I've been listening to music on a turntable over here, but
not bad. By the way, before we move on, happy holidays to all of you. And if you have any great stories from the holidays, or some great gifts you got that were UFL spring football related, drop them in the comments. Want to hear what you guys got for Christmas. You know, we do that in our Discord, by the way, PFN Discord, link in the description every year. So yeah, feel free to share. We want to hear what you guys got.
So I did
what are you treasuring?
So I was I'm going to talk about the positive one. I'm going to talk about the positive one. Maybe I'll save the negative one till later in the episode.
Well, yes, I'm waiting. You showed me both, so I got to see. I got to see it again.
So for many years on this show, Zach, what have I been saying? I need one thing in particular. One thing belongs across my body or hanging on my wall. And we know long fans of the show will tell you the ref needs a USFL ref shirt. You might say, well, the USFL is not around anymore. And I would argue, yes, they are. They were the USFL division, won the championship last year, might remind you. Well, Santa's big old sack came down my chimney and brought me a gift this year because I finally, and it's still in the packaging, as you'll see, but we even have the certificate of authenticity.
Wow.
I'm not going to wear it. But this is also has a little bit of meaning here too. This is from the 2022 USFL championship game.
Wait, seriously?
Yep. So this is from the game. So
freaking way. You held that. I didn't hear that detail when you said that earlier.
I don't think I brought it up.
Way.
So to me, I already have this picture on the wall that to me it means a lot because one, it's James Larson took it. It was his first. It was his first on the ground event. Because I don't think he had covered the Panthers, at least on the field yet.
No.
But then it's a picture of, the Coach Holtz embracing one of the players. And then in the background is you and me on the field with our USFL vests on. And so now I got the ref shirt from that game as well. So the plan is I have a shadow box that it's supposed to be here today. It's supposed to be here today. So once I get it set up, again, I'll throw it on the Twitter. I'll throw it on the UFL podcast Twitter as well, just so you see it. But I'm gonna get that set up, and that'll be, I think, my office is. Again, you can't tell behind me. You can tell a little bit right there. There's a mess brewing in here,
a little bit,
but we're slowly but surely getting it back into place. I'm probably gonna move these banners around because oh man, that probably made a big old noise. I'm sorry, guys. I'm probably going to put that shadow box like right here so it pokes over my shoulder. But we'll get there.
I like how you timed it with mess and then you mess with your mic
a
little in an unintentional sense.
Typical rough fashion.
Rough fashion. I am happy for you that you have accomplished one of the few things on this show you have been saying and trying to manifest yourself for a while now. But look, I did say that you showed that to me. I didn't realize it was from 2022. And looking back at like us doing this show, those first 2 years really stick out right now. Last year was special, for no doubt, because it was the merger, and I think just getting one league with none of the discourse happening again was great. But those 2 years with like starting that out, taking a gamble with the USFL folks, and starting that ride, it's pretty great.
Yeah.
That 2022 and that championship game is one of the classics, I think, in terms of like the history of the other side of the football coin,
right?
In terms of like in terms of the U.S. like spring football scene. I don't want to have any CFL fans that watch the show go like, wait a minute, CFL is like, no. That's why I'm differentiating.
Yeah.
Like that 2022 game is very special. The experiences from it, the running into the trophy in the hallway with you and I, and me just being afraid to even touch the damn thing, me going up, us doing the penthouse thing from that time, all of that, never going to forget it.
Yeah.
So that's just it's a little extra.
It adds on to it. Which actually, that's a good point. I should get the picture of me holding that trophy put up.
That'd be a great shadow box double up there.
Yeah. So it's slowly but surely coming along in here. And then you add in, we'll get to the best of, folks. Sorry, guys. The Lions, and I'm not going to say they're going to do anything in the playoffs because I'm not going to hex them. I'm not going to jinx them. I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to do anything. But I will say we've broken our franchise record for the most wins in a season. And I don't know if you know this about the Lions. They've been around for a while. So the fact that they've done this and they've been around for a while, it feels good with a lot of injuries. I was telling a friend of mine who he's from Michigan. We grew up near each other. He doesn't really watch a lot of football, but he pays attention enough. And I was telling him, I said, look, same thing. I'm not going to speculate what they're going to do in the playoffs. The playoffs, different thing entirely. But I'll say this. It's hard to say they're not a good team when they have the number of injuries they have and they're still winning. I said the same thing about the Birmingham Stallions. Look how things turned out for them. I'm not saying the same will happen with the Lions, but if you can sustain a large amount of injuries, and not just some injuries, you're talking about top players on your defense out for the season.
So many on IR.
And
unbelievable.
You're winning. You know what? I'd say you're a good team. And sign Dan Campbell up. For all the folks that said Dan Campbell, and even more so, Jared Goff wasn't the guy. Suckers. Anyway, I think it is about time we get into the topic here. We have the best of 2024. And the biggest thing about this isn't just you, in my opinion. This is the fans. This is the UFL fans letting their voices be heard. And I think this is where the show started too. I always forget that, Zach. This is where
that is right.
The show
started. We are officially on year number 4.
And for the 4th consecutive year, we have broken our record. More people than ever have filled out this the survey. And the craziest part is, Zach, we broke the record last year, right? And this year we broke the record within a day. We had more responses this year in a day than we did the last year, the previous year, and the year before. Not combined, but
simply incredible. I love hearing that.
I love it too.
Look, we can talk site, getting more folks in here, and got to shout out to our folks that have gotten good writing pieces in, and James Larson, just our pal and insider, just his work I can never state enough. He does so freaking much to do this site and put things up between you and him. But the fact, I think it's a measure of how much interest we're getting in the sport itself from our poll every holiday season. Mm-hmm. That's how I view it. It isn't about the site at that point. It's about, hey, we're gauging how many people are paying attention and noticing this poll.
Yeah.
Well, so that's big. That's really big to hear that voter count exceeds it again and again. And you already broke in 24 hours.
Yeah. People were ready
Fantastic.
This year. People were ready to fill out this survey. They were anticipating it. So that made me very happy to see. Right. And we have we'll just run down kind of the options here real quick before we jump into the results. So, the typical stuff, favorite USFL team, favorite XFL team. And so not best team, but your favorite team, because you know what? I, as I was just talking about, fan of the Detroit Lions. And you know what? When they were crappy, they were still my favorite team. So this gives you a chance to kind of let your fandom out, I guess. Favorite fan engagement event. So, the spring stocks, the summer stocks. We have Community Legend of the Year. We'll get into the results, but it seems to be unanimous again. Crazy. Which USFL, XFL team would you like to see return? So we know there's been talk of expansion. Not even just talk, official talk.
A nice nugget to this season,
Yeah.
Or at least this year, now with that news out that they're looking. So
always great.
Actually, fun little thing. I have people at my job that are more and more fascinated because I talk about it a lot more.
Right.
Not that I'm pushing the show. It's more that I just talk about it out loud and we start discussing.
Right.
And had a lot of conversation today before coming on here. They asked me my thoughts on, hey, what teams are coming back? What do you think? They were like, someone's like, I think Seattle. I really want Seattle back. Someone brought up Oklahoma City, San Diego. And this isn't just me. This is just somebody who is they're in the stages of what I was back at 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
It is fun to watch.
See, that's awesome. Now. That's awesome. See, and that's my hope is every year you pick up a couple more people. And every year, those couple more people tell a couple more friends. So hopefully it just grows. It's like the spider web effect.
It looks like it is working.
Yeah.
It's good.
I like to hear it. We have the most surprising team to miss the UFL playoffs. USFL Coach of the Year. XFL Coach of the Year. Best moments of 2024. And then we got a couple other topics that we're going to talk about. We got QBs and speculation zone around schedules. So this is less of the best of, but stick around. So even after the best of, we got some more stuff to talk about. This is an end of the year show, a big bang out, blowout show just for you.
Jam-packed.
Just for you. So let's kick things off. So we have favorite USFL team, and again, if you didn't know what USFL teams there were, I'll run them down for you. We got the Birmingham Stallions, the team that, if you didn't know, they're about to go 12-0, the Houston Roughnecks, the Memphis Showboats, who have a brand new head coach in Ken Wisenhunt, and the Michigan Panthers, Zach. And I'll tell you, I was watching these results as they were coming in, and it was really about up until, I don't know, 3 or 4 days ago, the Michigan Panthers were on top. And early, the Michigan Panthers were creaming all of the other teams, just beating them down in a bad way. And I was a little bit shocked isn't the right word, surprised maybe. Looking at it, I was like, wow, there's a lot more Panthers fans. I knew there was a lot of Panthers fans. I knew, especially because you got Ford Field and you did pretty well last season. But I was a little surprised at the outcome. Now, they did get edged out at the end of the day. And I leave this up to, there's something about those Stallions fans, man. They are going to get the word out. And they did. And they did. And they edged out the Panthers. You know what? I'm happy about this poll. The Roughnecks are not in last place.
If you didn't say something, I was gonna be like, you know what? I'm happy about this poll. that I'm not the Roughnecks in third place.
It wasn't very close. Third and fourth is close.
No, I get it. I'm surprised and somewhat that Michigan was keeping ahead as much as they were, but I do think a lot of this can be contributed to the Jake Bates story in Detroit. It's a very easy connection. It's right in the exact same building that he made his presence and face in the league known. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's helped. Personally, I really hope it helps the attention that the team gets for the spring season. Mm-hmm. A lot of discussion about how we felt like, between me and others in our own fandom, my fandom, that is the Panthers, although you do say you are the number one Panthers fan. So how can I forget you?
It's right there behind my back too. It's up there somewhere.
I know. I see it back there. I see what you're doing, but more attention to the team was needed. This helps a lot. I think I'm putting it as a testament to that personally, because I thought Birmingham was going to just blow it out of the water. But to hear you say that they got the early lead and held on till like 0 hour is kind of crazy. So fingers crossed the word is getting out more, because it's Detroit, just goodwill with football all around going out there right now, and not to mention, it's a place I like to, it's like another home with my family out there. I think now slowly but surely growing for me. So yeah.
Did you see the new UFL promo that they debuted last weekend? The Jake Bates promo, man.
That's smart marketing.
Yeah.
Though. It's like, duh, one of the talks of the league, you gotta put a face out there, That's good. That's good.
I'm so glad that he's on the Lions, and I'm so glad he didn't bungle the opportunity. It's all my football friends do hate me, because it's like every time he's on the screen, I'm like, hey, do you know that guy used to play in spring football? Yeah, yes, ref. We know. we heard. And then the announcers will be like,
just making sure. Just want you to be clear.
And then the broadcast booth, 2 seconds later, they're like, last year, Jake Bates played in the United Football League, and prior to that, he didn't kick before high school. I'm like, see. And they're like, yeah, we know, we got it. I'm like, but next time he's up, then the promo comes up, like, you see that? Yes, we got it, dude. We understand.
They are making sure you are known. Actually, fun thing with the promos. So I think some of them, maybe I just haven't caught them, or they're not on NFL broadcast yet. But this week they've been revving up the UFL re-airs because they realize, it's going to be go time for that pretty soon.
Yep.
And so I've seen a few more promos on FS1 and 2 that were not on the Fox broadcast. So you might see more variety coming up here really soon. It's coming. We'll talk about one of the pieces later at the end of the show, but it's coming. So it's about that time. You're going to see more and more of it start sneaking out. on the airwaves.
Yep.
So
Yep. Yeah. Well, it's about that time of year. We always talk about it, as you kind of get this slowness after the season. But this year, I'd say they did a pretty good job. We got the Ken Wisenhunt news. We got the schedule footprint. We got a little bit of nuggets throughout the offseason to where I expect January we're going to be running and rolling and probably maybe even, and we'll talk about it. Anyway.
Here's the, so the XFL one next is, I'm not going to lie. I'm not surprised by the first place outcome.
Jeff.
The second place outcome shocked me.
Do you want to run
I don't
through
know about
it?
you.
Yeah. No, we'll get into it. We'll talk about it. I can see the argument, but
here's the Battlehawks won for those that were waiting in suspense. They were easily that vote. And based on what you are putting for the numbers on the graphs, it looks like they were the highest voted of any of the teams on both of those charts. Number 2 is the Brahmas, though.
Yeah.
Not DC. I was surprised by that. I thought DC would take the 2. We're talking attendance and how rowdy that fan base is. And again, not everyone gets, some people are rowdier online than others, and, depending on the shares and whatnot. But, hey, I was kind of surprised. Pretty neck and neck, and the Brahmas came out second place.
I'll say this: they made it to the championship game. How did they fare in the maybe not so great, but they made it to the championship game, and
they made a name for themselves last year.
To me, that gives them the edge, maybe over DC, where DC, they floundered a little bit, and we'll talk. There's another poll later on that I think has a result that ties into this exact conversation.
Okay.
But that would be the maybe where the edging that's probably not the right way to say it. You know me, it's a new year, but it doesn't mean I'm gonna anyway.
That's good.
Maybe that's where they came out on top. Maybe where the difference was made is maybe a better way to say it.
Okay.
That's my take. Now the Renegades, they were at the bottom, and I think that's expected. They won the championship inaugural year of the XFL, but last year they weren't really much. They didn't have a huge impact on the league, and the results show for that. Now you would hope though, this is maybe a little bit of concerning news. This is where the hub is at, Zach. You would almost like when you look at let's flip things around. Look at the USFL. Mm-hmm. Where was the hub at in the USFL? Birmingham. Look at the love that Birmingham gets because of that. Not the same in the XFL. It's a little bit of interesting tidbit to throw out there when you compare things around. Now, a little bit with Birmingham comes to, when you win every championship game, you're going to have a lot of fans.
Right.
Naturally, you're just going to have a lot of fans. Right?
Caveat, I think what we'll talk as the year goes on is, and when we get into more episodes about the lead up, just to tie in is, inaugural game was loaded. It had tons of fandom, and yes, there were a good solid Stallions contingent, but there were a lot of Dallas fans of the first game, and it never matched it whatsoever. I get it. It's an inaugural game. Should be considered one of the top ones of the year, and usually the back end if it's the last home game of the season. But it wasn't even close. After the first game, it just it fell off a crater for most of the rest of the year. Credit, they weren't a good team and mostly found ways to lose with a good quarterback. But, maybe things change this year.
Yep. So
you hope.
Congratulations, Battlehawks fans. You did it again. I don't think they've ever lost this poll.
If they have, it's got to have been no, I don't think there's no way they have. I'm trying to be devil's advocate. There's no devil's advocate. It's off screen.
But
shouldn't be here.
But even more congratulations to the Brahmas. I'd say, you know what? You maybe came in a distant second, but you came in a second where I think, Zach, I'm kind of with you. I probably would have expected the defenders to maybe come out on top there, but the championship,
the lemons were holstered. It appears someone needs to be a little more liberal with use of lemons moving forward.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, but that's it. They pissed off the other fan bases and they voted against them. favorite fan engagement event. We got a couple of kind of community notes here. So, we had 2 events last year. We had Spring Stock in Arlington and Houston, and then we had Summer Stock in St. Louis. And now these events were a little bit different, right? So Spring Stock 3 was, they had both of them had like such amazing moments, because we had Mark Perry on the show from News Hub, which I think was, I don't want to say years in the making, but a culmination of probably interpretations of what our feelings were from other people on the internet, and us just kind of like meeting each other. Well, no, we met each other before, but really we had our first conversation
doing an actual
live,
show convo. Right.
Which I wouldn't have had it any other way. And I mean, I had fun. We also had Dirty, from our pals from, what is their name anymore? They have a million names, but
Fuel.
Yeah.
Fuel.
Sorry.
But my favorite moments from that event, I got 3 of them. 2 of them are Fuel folks related, which, by the way, shout out to Fuel Network for their just great stuff with Spring Stock last year. But, they're doing some awesome things with coverage with some of their own shows right now. But 3 things were Fuel related. One of them was Dirty and Mark and us having the chaotic 3-camera setup and trying to manage that. It was fantastic. You had Arlington, you had Dirty, you had us, and then you had Mark, and it was just complete madness in the best way possible, trying to like talk these games and talk about the stuff going on. Love it. That's the type of stuff I live for in this space. The other was having representatives from Fuel help us and go tailgating for us, have basically a tailgate cam. That was something that I had been, I remember talking to you about this. We talked about this in the show. I've been dying to do this the first 2 years, and we just didn't have a good way of doing it. And now we can, I think we can confidently say any shows we ever do now, we can just talk to people and figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah, it all worked out. Dude, that was so much fun. And then Summer Stock was, it was different. We basically did a tailgate show, but to me, there was the extra specialness because we had our dads there, which was like a whole different thing. We were in St. Louis at the Dome. It was hotter than hell. I remember giving Luke a hard time on Discord because he said he landed in St. Louis and he said it was hot. I said, dude, you live in Texas now. How are you going to say it's hot in St. Louis? And I got there. I'm like, oh, well, okay, it is pretty flipping hot.
I tell people, for those that know, of course, most know, I think now, but if you haven't yet, I live in Phoenix. You used to live in Arizona.
Yeah.
And I would say the hottest day of the year I experienced last year was in St. Louis, Missouri.
It's that damn humidity, man. That humidity gets you.
The worst summer day last year, as much as I enjoyed having drinks with folks, I enjoyed running into XFL Jim and so many others from the St. Louis Battlehawks side of things I don't get to talk to. Will Freeman out there, shout out to him and meeting up with him and the folks that do all the St. Louis Battlehawks items. That was hot as hell. And it makes me realize how brutal I'm forgetting how brutal the Midwest can be when you add moisture into the air.
Yeah, humidity
and it's
ruins
97
everything.
degrees out, by the way, in the Midwest.
Yeah, I know. The one day, it was flipping hot. And it was chaotically fun. I think, and I think as for folks who are wondering that we've been talking about how we can improve on that this year. Cause like, I think that was a fun alternative to what we do with Spring Stock, as that case. So yeah. Well, we have so much equipment now that we've just collected over the years. We have now you got those DJI mics, which is going to be a killer.
Yeah. These things I'm got for more stuff. And right now they're hopefully crossing fingers. I'm not going to spoil it because we talked off screen about this. Cross fingers. Hopefully there's some goodies I can use for resources for this spring stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. Holding my breath.
Details coming
find
soon.
out.
Details coming soon. Well, hopefully we'll talk about that.
I'm actually curious what your thought on this is. Community's right to me no matter what, and we were both great events. Summer Stock won out.
I was actually surprised. I guess I'm only going to say maybe because it was in St. Louis. That's
I swear to God, that would be it too, wouldn't it?
That might be the thing. There's some people that came here and are like, I don't really care. Oh, St. Louis, okay. That might be, but it was still close. It wasn't like the other one trounced the other. They were two just different types of events. And maybe there's a little bit of recency bias to it because summer stock happened more recently. Either way, I don't know. I don't know if I have a favorite when it comes to either one, just because they both had different things that were equally neat about them. Like I said, the family element was cool because I don't know. I maybe talked about it, but in the good old days, I was in a band. My dad never came to any of my concerts. Came to one of my podcasts, so that was kind of neat. We got the picture in front of the banner. But then the news hub and the fuel thing from the first one was just, and we got the setup and the thing that I love about the first one was it was classic ref when they said there's no tailgating. And it's we'll see about that. And we just do. It's me. I get up in the morning. I find a way in. I get a spot. I camp down and nobody kicks us out. There was an opportunity very much like Spring Stock 1 where halfway through the show, somebody came and said, hey, you can't be here. We stole the whole bench, Zach. We just put our tent over a picnic table area.
I mean, if you want to go farther, I mean, I think what's funnier is we got set up. They close it off, and we had people that did find us that did come to the show, and they're like, hey, so they're saying we can't park here because this is employee parking. we somehow beat the employee security, got closed in, and they just were like, it's too busy. We you guys do whatever the hell you want back there.
It's like the mask. Try and stop me.
In the madness, though, we ended backing up into tailgaters for the Renegades.
Yeah.
On the opposite side of the lot. So it made it even better. Like meeting new fans from that fan base, meeting old faces, meeting folks that traveled, by the way, out from the Midwest. Like Philadelphia Stars fan, remember we had that stopped by our show.
Well, we had somebody that drove from California.
Yes, who is still one of our top fans that keeps up with us all the time.
Yeah.
And apparently road trips around the country all the damn time. Fun stuff, But that's the thing. Every one of these events we do, it's like something new happens. It's never the same. They're all different.
Yep.
So I love it.
Sign up Summer Stock 3. It was one for the ages. If you haven't watched it, watch it. It's there to be watched. We also have watched Spring Stock 3. We have a whole thing. I need to do what all these other YouTubers are doing. I'm just too lazy. But what I need to do is make seasons of the show and make like one long video,
we could do that.
Yeah.
I think that could be in the cards. You and I can talk more, but that wouldn't be too hard. Just got to get some bumpers together and, and honestly, that wouldn't be bad.
Right. Have
good
like
way
a
to
season.
get you caught up to speed before season 4 kicks off, which I mean, to be fair, this is kind of tail end. This is the last bit of season 3.
Yeah, this is actually the last
4.
episode of season 3
Yeah.
of the UFL podcast. Holy shit. Oh.
Where's the dump?
Yeah, I know. So, community legend of the year, Zach. Unanimous.
Boy.
Unanimous. And I even put another option in there because other people were worried. People were worried, Zach, that people might not fill out the survey with a one option required question for community legend of the year. So I said, you know what? I'll give them another option. We'll see. Who are the other ones? And nobody filled out another. And it was unanimous. For I think the 3rd year in a row here, 4th year in a row. I don't know when we added this question. Easily the 3rd.
I think it's 3rd. Yeah.
Easily 3rd year in a row. Congratulations to the community legend Ducky for being community legend of the year. I mean, it's in his name, so it felt natural that the community legend would be community legend of the year. And you know what? Integral piece of the Around the UFL show. Always has something insightful to add. Always wondering what flavor popcorn is in the bucket. Sign them up. And you know what? Honestly, he's one of the. I'm glad to have him around. Some people love him, some people hate him, but I appreciate the genius that is Ducky. I mean, he knows social media, and I work in marketing, so I appreciate people that have a good understanding of social media. And
yeah,
he is that guy. He is that guy 100%.
Yeah, look, he's another one of those through this show we've met that, without this show, we would have never met up with him and have had the relationship with him we've had to get to know him and, get to have him as part of the crew with PFN. So, and to shout him out even more, he's an integral part of what makes the Discord server run. Him and Jake Ball and you are like the trifecta that help keep that thing and that ship running. You three, especially the two latter or former, do a lot of the heavy lifting moderator wise. So, they're community legend, but also like Discord, like badass. That's how I put it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a good time to slide in. If you're not in the Discord, click the link down below. Join the party. It's actually not as insane as it used to be. So if you were looking for football talk, you actually might find a little bit more of that in there than, let's say, maybe a year and a half ago or so, which I miss. I miss a little bit of the madness of the Discord. I anticipate as the season gets closer, it will.
You know what happened was we had such a big influx of new people, and then we just kind of had to we just kind of had to bob and weave through and see who is going to be the people that stuck around to be part of the new crew.
Yeah.
And now we have our regular contingent of I would say upwards of easily 15 to 20 regulars.
Oh,
at
absolutely.
this point, it's a very active server.
Yeah.
If you haven't been on the PFN server, or if you have someone that and you're a fan of this show and you've had them talk to you about it, no, trust me, if you want to talk football, we're goofy, but we talk UFL on a regular basis near every day.
Oh,
so
if you put in a chat, you're probably going to get a response within a couple minutes, unless it's overnight. There's usually, and I'm looking at it now, there's usually about 100 people online, whether they're active or not. There's usually about 100 people online.
That's a pretty healthy Discord server for a niche right now sector of the sport.
Yeah, let's see. How many members are we up to now? We're over 1,500 members, almost 1,600 at this point. So I'd say, if you're looking to hang out with some spring football folks, come and join the party. Come and join the party. And you know what? We'll get back to we used to do streaming nights and game nights and all sorts of things too. The game nights were fun, the golf and
we got to get back to doing that again, man.
Yeah,
that's got to be a this year thing to start up again.
So again, and that was another Ducky thing. Ducky was kind of running point on that. So sign him up. Again, another reason he's that community legend. So let's move back into league stuff. So we have, which USFL, XFL team would you like to see return? So, the big talk right now is expansion. Earlier this year, not too, a little bit, not last month, maybe the month before, recently.
Yeah, that was November talk of the town. So
yeah, so they're looking at expanding. They put out kind of their process around that. Not really a lot of details other than they're looking at it. And so it at least confirms the speculation that the league is trying to kind of build back, right? And so we asked, what teams, of all the teams that got cut, and, I'm sure we could have probably added AAF in there, but I'm talking about what are the realistic teams, at least that they own the IPs to, that we might see return. Now I'd say there's 3 in this list that stand out. I'm going to throw 4 in there selfishly for me.
Sure.
Zach, I guess I announced, I think, the last 2 here. Do you want to do the honors of the top team here?
Yeah. I mean, let's do this here. So, I'll run through all of them.
Sure.
We'll do that. So, I mean, our options we had, and actually, before I even say this, do we have a write-in option for this one?
No.
Or was this? No. Okay. Just want to double check. But for your options you had the Houston Gamblers, New Jersey Generals, New Orleans Breakers, the Orlando/New York Guardians. So, Guardians brand, toss up on where it goes. The Philadelphia Stars, Pittsburgh Maulers, Seattle Sea Dragons, and the Vegas Vipers. And, the Seattle contingency was very prominent in this answer. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the most talked about one right now. People want it back. It's a West Coast team. So very prominent. Number 2, though, New Orleans, but right behind it, Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
A lot of Maulers fans wanted their team back.
Again, rightfully so. You're in the championship game, and then your team gets cut. I'm glad that they're at least in that top 3. Now, Breakers make sense. There was a lot of Breakers fans that were upset when that team got cut.
There were several active people that want that team. There's some in our Discord that still want that team back. So,
yeah. And I mean, there was even speculation that, going into that merger, prior to the merger happening, that the Breakers might be one of those new hub cities, however you want to call it, in the USFL. Then it didn't happen. So now when we're looking at expansion, I think there's maybe hope that whether those conversations continued or whatever it might be. My hope is there's people from the UFL that watch this show. I know that at least as much. I hope there's people that are looking, though, and listening to this, and this helps them, right? So we can say resoundingly, people want the Seattle Sea Dragons back, but don't discount the Breakers and the Maulers. And I'll even throw in a special consideration for the Generals. They're, maybe not in the top. They're not in the top 3. They're maybe not really even close to the Maulers, but all things considered, they're a solid number 4 when you look at the rest of the results here. The one I'm sad about here, Zach, how dare you people fill out this survey and leave the Houston Gamblers all the way at the stinking bottom? Yeah, your argument might be, well, Houston already has a team. And I don't know. I might be the only one that voted for the Gamblers on this list because I did fill out this poll. But we got beat out by the Vegas Vipers. I mean, you're telling me you'd rather have the Vegas Vipers back than the illustrious, beautiful, shining, all-in Houston Gamblers. How dare you? How dare you?
How upsetting. How upsetting.
The one I'm actually surprised, no joking about here, is the Philadelphia Stars. The Blob must have been on arrest. He must be on vacation.
Yeah.
Because if
what happened to our Blob contingent? I did not show up. That's a team that also finished runner-up in 2022.
Yeah. I'm a little shocked. I was
like
actually shocked.
The Generals were, I know we've talked about this with like conferences with like the merger and like XFL and USFL, but like we had the joke when the USFL years that the Generals were just the freaking Cowboys of the USFL.
Right.
Which in the history of the USFL before this, that's kind of what they were too, by the way. So not a first time, but Philadelphia came low. Yeah, the bottom 4 were the Gamblers, and again, I know I like the brand personally. The UFL, if they were smart, they would be selling merch for the brands they own. Yeah, like the Gamblers again, that they
vintage gear. Why not?
In theory, have license for.
Yeah,
but, bottom 4 in order of lowest to highest of it were Gamblers, Vipers, and a tie between the Stars and the Guardians.
Yep.
Yeah.
Damn shame. Well, now you guys know where everybody sits in next year's poll when we're hopefully closer to expansion. You guys, you Houston Gamblers fans, will wake up out of your slumber. Get us out of last place
You
here.
got time. Time's now.
Another, what is up? I need to stop doing this poll, man. These results are upsetting me. Look at the next one. Most surprising team to miss the UFL playoffs. How dare you guys?
You took the L on this too.
How dare you? The Houston Roughnecks, the least surprising team to not make the I'm done. The show's over.
I love how upset you are for the fact that back when we did like the first few episodes of ATU last year, near everyone unanimously said at the same time, "Oh, this team's definitely finishing last," and that's exactly what they freaking did.
And we didn't even get the pick. Destiny. We didn't even get the pick out of it either. We got bamboozled.
Oh my God.
Anyway, the result, not the results, but the options were.
I respect the commitment. I have to put
This is our year, 12-0, TDECU, baby.
List off the rest and who was the top.
So we have, here were the options. We had the Renegades, the DC Defenders, the Houston Roughnecks, and the Memphis Showboats. Now, the one that won the poll, the most surprising team, by a good margin, too, and I do not doubt, this actually resonates with me, the DC Defenders. They won by a resounding amount of the most surprising team to miss the UFL playoffs. Now, second place is actually a good point here that came in a distant second was the Arlington Renegades. Now, it is hard to remember. They did win the XFL championship the year prior. So it is kind of crazy that they didn't make it to the playoffs. Now, it's funny because it was against the DC Defenders, and the Defenders
that is straight
won,
irony.
Right?
That's irony.
But okay, they at least were 1-2. Okay, so that kind of sits right. The flipping Roughnecks coming in dead last hurts.
My God.
The Showboats were in second.
I actually thought the Showboats should have been higher because there was a lot of preseason hype around Memphis before we went in. And then once they took on the Brahmas and like basically collapsed a double-digit lead in less than a few minutes.
Yeah.
That was basically the downfall right there, the rest of their season. I put down DC, but if I had multiple picks, it would have been Memphis as my number 2 right away. I'm shocked to finish third though, because there was no, I mean, unless just everyone else was different. Like I know our shows, there was no hype around Arlington for us.
No,
like
even going
like, it
into
wasn't
the
like
season.
as bad as what we were talking with Houston. Again, not throwing it under the gutter, but like got to reference the shows here. But like Arlington was one of those where it's like, I don't know about this squad. And, you know, they didn't finish last, but I mean, they also played a lot better than I think, or at least they played close most weeks.
I'll tell you who beat the Arlington Renegades, though, is that scrappy Houston Roughnecks team.
Yes.
I mean, we did beat the
difference.
XFL champions. I'll just let you know.
Or not
in case
split
you
the
were
difference. Sorry,
curious.
not split the difference. I'm thinking of it still in XFL terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got the one off on them for the year in the Texas Showdown, which, by the way, glad it's at least a one-off. You can make it a rivalry like that every year, but hopefully they both get better so that you're not having a late season where it's like, I mean, hey, it's a Texas game, I guess.
Well, I'm telling you, things are going to be different this year. Things are going to be way different. They're going to be so different. They're going to be 12-0 different for the Roughnecks. We're going to be so good. You're going to be surprised. Put money on it now.
Predicted shirt purchase incoming.
Man, what am I doing? All right, you read off these stupid. I'm done with this poll. I'm done with this survey.
Next one up here. We're in the home stretch of the polls. So, USFL Coach of the Year vote. So, you know, we already had our own Coach of the Years and all that for the awards, but that was between all four. If you'd wanted to remember the coaches, since some have moved or changed, that was Skip Holtz, Mike Nolan, John DiFilippo, and Curtis Johnson. Now, remember, Mike Nolan won the award this year, which I still feel is very deserving, given what Michigan was the season prior. But I understand the votes because, let's be honest, Skip Holtz is the king of spring football. The man, him and Zach Potter, we are retreading what we keep saying for 3 years now. And it's to the point now where we're all when we discuss it in communities is Skip Holtz the greatest spring football coach in the history of this part of the sport? And I think we are very much in that territory now when you consider there's really no other good comparison, and he's kind of in his own pedestal right now. So, yeah, the vote makes a lot of sense. Easily blew out Mike Nolan out the water. Honestly, beyond Mike Nolan, John DiFilippo and Curtis Johnson got jack nothing. And I think it's just because the seasons they had, you know. So
put a little bit more respect on CJ Johnson's name. I'll just say, dead last again. Hurt my feelings here.
If you want me to be honest, a lot of free agent retooling thanks to some of front office changes. Hope on the horizon, possibly.
I'm telling you.
Personal note, I like what I'm seeing, but who's the guy throwing the ball?
Well, victory's in the air. It doesn't matter.
Well, we'll talk deeper as we go. But I'm just saying, there's hope on the horizon.
Yeah.
So
TDECU is going to change it all too. I'm telling you, it's going to make everything.
Oh, dude, I cannot
better.
wait to come down and visit, whether we're doing it for spring stock or just a one-off game this year. I am making it down to Houston.
It's going to be amazing.
Venue.
Well, I'm telling you, that club section, you cannot be beat, Zach. They make the club section is great because there's no bathroom line in there. You have to have a club seat to get in the club section, and it has its own bathroom. So there's never a line in the bathrooms. They have their own drink, like their own bar in there. So there's rarely a line for drinks. And if it is, it's like one or two people. They have their own merch booth, Zach. So you don't ever have to stand in line for merch. But the best part about it is, so they have stadium food out in the regular stadium, which TDECU has a flippin' Chick-fil-A. A Chick-fil-A. That's in the stadium. In the club section, though, every week they have specials. And so it'll range from like barbecue plates that are like legit sausage, ribs, pulled pork, all of it. Okay. And it is legit. And it's usually like $15 to $20. But when you consider you're at a stadium and you're getting a legit platter of barbecue for like $15, $15 to $20, I spend $15 to $20 at legit barbecue all day.
Yes.
Right? I'm telling you, oh, God, I cannot wait to be back at TDECU. And the tailgating lot is amazing there.
We'll be talking. I already like the tailgating scene when we did it at Rice, and I know that's not the full potential of it. So
just wait.
I can't wait to get back down your way this spring. It's gonna be fun, and it's just you and I when we shoot. I mean, you already said the shit. Like getting together. It's just always great. So I can't wait to see you.
And I got my old seats back in my old section, so I'm hoping all the people that were sitting in that section the previous year got them back, because we had a nice section. We actually I met one of our writers, Matt from Houston, out there. Yeah, who was doing like gambling odds pieces and stuff like that. Story goes, so I'm sitting there, and I'm on Twitter at the time, and I see a picture, and somebody's like, "Hey, ref, this looks a lot like you," and I'm like, "That is me." And so I'm like, I'm like, who the flip is taking pictures of me at the game? And fast forward like 15 minutes, dude taps on my back. He's like, "Oh, that was you." I'm like, "Yeah, it is me." Horrible picture of me. Don't look it up. I'm like Barbara Streisand in that way. I got a good side and a bad side. Ooh. Neither of them are good, but my front profile's fine. The side profile, I'm not even going to do it. But I got a big nose. I got a big nose. You get from the front, you can't really tell. But you know what? I'll do it. I don't even know how.
You show off the nose. So
it probably doesn't look that bad on video, but on picture, maybe I'll find the picture. On this picture, I'm like, oh my God, why is there this picture of me floating? I'm like slouched over, so my gut's hanging out, my nose is flopped over. I'm like, oh my God, I look like a monster.
Audio listeners are going to want to tune in for this exclusive.
Yeah. So anyway, I hope the people got seats back there.
I can't, go to TDCU. That's all he's saying. He knows.
Yeah.
I've been hyped for it since he's told me about it. And no disrespect to Rice, but I know it's an upgrade over Rice.
Everything about it. Everything about it.
Anyway, XFL Coach of the Year. This one much closer. And I think decentish debate. Part of it's also fan base related, I think. But I agree with the final vote. Wade Phillips wins out here. Other options were Anthony Becht, Bob Stoops, and Reggie Barlow. Anthony Becht very much was closer to Wade Phillips than Mike Nolan was to Skip Holtz. And look, you can argue, I know they're another good season, consistently getting in quality talent, not a bad run organization. But, and this is, and maybe I know we got Battlehawks fans that comment on this show, but like, come on. Wade Phillips came over. AJ Smith came over. They set things up, put this team in wonderful position to start. We're the talk of the town by many of our colleagues here on PFN for how well that offense ran, and the defense, my God. Up until the championship game, there was no doubt. There was no doubt that this was going to be a dominating force. They just ran into an immovable, the immovable object got moved by the unstoppable force with Birmingham in the championship this year. But that immobile object in the Brahmas is pretty damn good. So Wade Phillips, I get it. Yeah, definitely coach of the year XFL wise for the vote. Stoops finishes last, by the way. Barlow third in this voting. So
yeah.
And I'll be frank, we had a lot of critiques on Bob Stoops last year, so not surprising.
Now,
say it.
I'll tell you this too. So there was a point in this poll, similar to the Panthers, where Anthony Becht was in a pretty good lead.
Really?
Lead. And I almost wonder if him cutting AJ McCarron had any impact on the voting for him.
Maybe?
I don't know. But I throw it out there as an option. So I'm going through just to make sure here, because I was actually surprised. So I put an other option for the best moment of the year, because best moment of the year is such a hard, when you get down to the play level, I try not to get down to the play level when I talk about best moments of the year. I'm talking about biggest news, really.
I think the way you equate this is you're talking best for what the league, and it's whatever it is for moving forward, you know, or what stands out as a league item that, highlighted the season. So, many of these options are about the future of what the league's doing. And I think I think that's good. You know, we can talk about top plays or whatever, but I think that definitely is reserved for what moves the needle forward or what was a piece that makes the league stand out.
Yep.
So
now, so I'll run through the options. And there is one on here that I didn't add that actually got a good amount of other votes. So it worked out. And it was along the silent. It wasn't a play. It was a moment. It was a news moment. So anyway, we have the options that we gave was the US and XFL merged to become the United Football League. Clearly that was a big flipping moment. Birmingham Stallions not only win their third straight championship, but completely shut out the Brahmas to win the third straight championship. The UFL announces plans to expand into new markets. We have Ken Wisenhunt being named head coach of the Memphis Showboats, and the UFL announces international showcase. Now, I'm not going to start with the winners. I'm actually going to start with it wouldn't be a winner, but it was the most amount of other options that I saw kind of dispersed in. So actually, do you have a guess? Go on. Or what are you going to say?
Well, I wasn't going to have a guess. I was going to ask if it, quite out of curiosity, does it beat the option ones? Any of them? Do you know? In terms of tally?
It probably beats out maybe the bottom two.
Okay.
Probably the bottom two.
Okay. I don't have a guess right off the top of my head. I blame being tired. I'm recording this after a shift, and for those that remember, I work night shift, so sometimes the brain don't work so good at times. But I do want to. What is the write-in? I want to. Let's see.
Friday night games. The announcement of Friday night games, and you know what? When I was making this list, I didn't even think to put that on there. And sure enough, that it wouldn't have been in the top three, but I think it would probably be in the fourth position here. I think it would beat out the bottom two options that we're looking at. Now, when we look at the top three here in our list, there's basically a top two that are pretty close, a third that's a solid third, and then you have fourth and fifth. Yeah. This would be maybe a more solid fourth. When we come to I guess we'll do the number two option. Well, actually, let's do the top. Start at three.
Yeah, we'll do three. The top three have a lot of votes.
Yeah. So the third option, so not the first, the second, but the third option, Birmingham Stallions winning their third championship. Solid third, but maybe a little bit distant compared to first and second. The second is the merger. I was actually a little bit surprised. I thought that this was going to beat everything out. I think that was what won last year was the announcement of the merger, even though it was late news into the year. But it's still a solid two, close number two. Zach, you want to reveal the number one?
Yeah, so that means number one was the expansion plans.
Yep.
And you can talk about recency bias. I think plays into it a lot. Again, wasn't that long ago. I still believe we're a month right now that I'm aware of. So, but I mean, hey, again, when we talk about this poll being how we just described it as almost like what is big for the business of the league, almost it feels like, that makes a lot of sense because it does signal that it's a double down of sorts. Even if you want to argue that it's putting out to the world, hey, we're letting business is open. I don't know. I think it kind of signals that they want to get growth and move and build quickly, and that they have some level of confidence that this is going to be growing and they're going to get people wanting to look at them. So,
well, as I said, it adds a little bit of a legitimacy to the league. It shows that they're looking forward. For people that maybe aren't the crazies like you and I, they're going to look at that and say, oh, look, they're not folding. They're looking at expanding. Maybe I'll tune in this year. Like there's always those skeptical people. We still run into them where they're like, oh, spring football is never going to work. Well, yeah, maybe they have different league names, but you can make an argument that spring football works at least for the last 5 years. Even starting with the AAF, it's hard because they folded before the season ended, but it set the groundwork for what was the XFL in 2020, where had it not been for the illness we shall not name, probably might still be around, led into the spring league, the USFL, the reemergence of the XFL, and now the UFL. I mean, it's been a pretty solid 5 years, discounting, the illness we shall not name and then the AAF. Everything else has been, kind of part of the plan moving forward. You could say, well, the spring league's not around, but had it not been for the spring league, we wouldn't have the USFL. They're almost one and the same. Had we not had the USFL or the XFL come back, it wouldn't have been the UFL. So it's all kind of like one big blob, just with a couple different names. If you ask me, maybe I'm crazy.
Yeah, sure.
But that's it. That's our this year in the UFL 2024. Thank you again for filling out the poll. Thank you for breaking the record for the 4th consecutive year. Hopefully you guys break the record next year for the 5th consecutive year when we do this year in the UFL 2025. Zach, I mean, it's crazy. We're going full circle here. We still got a couple other topics, so stick around. The show's not over. End of year show. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Big year, fun year. I'm looking forward to this next year. Any final thoughts before we move into the next topic?
Oh, my final thing is that, I don't know, just again, keep growing in the right direction. We're seeing a lot of that, I think, in football and just outside of what the NFL is. And it's all positively moving the right way. So, but otherwise, I wish for my own purposes, talking to you and the audience, I wish all of you a very prosperous and healthy next year for you and your family or whoever you care about. Same extends to you, by the way, my friend. We all deal with different things. And, I always hope that the audience out there, if you're needing a little bit of a distraction, that maybe we're something to have an escape away from it.
Yeah.
So,
no, always.
Hoping you are all doing well. And thank you for helping us enjoy a little bit of this slice of the sports pie that we get to have every year.
Hell yeah. Yes. QBs, Zach. QBs. It's QB Palooza.
QB Palooza.
I'm going to let you take the lead on this one. I'll be honest, before we jump into it, I've had it was a Christmas miracle. I'll start with that. Christmas miracle. Real action. If you ever wonder, is it Christmas miracles real? They are. Here's how I know. I've had an ear infection that has been just the bane of my existence for maybe 2-3 weeks, maybe a little bit longer that I didn't even know about. And it started with this ear, and it was bad. And then it spread to the other ear. And then it spread all throughout my son. I was
Jesus, man.
I was not good for the last couple weeks in a bad way. I had to work through it too, which was no fun. But I'll tell you this. I used Teledoc for the first time.
Okay.
And people, because I don't like, Zach, you might know this about me. I'm a curmudgeon. I don't like leaving my house. I'm weird. I don't like going anywhere. I don't like waiting.
I say you got things to do.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. I got important things to do, people to talk to, stuff to get done. So I finally said, you know what? I'll try this teledoc thing. Even though I'm like, how are they going to diagnose my ears through a webcam? Fine, whatever. I'm sure they hear it enough. Do the teledoc. I was amazed. It took me like 10, 15 minutes. I said, this is amazing. Why have I not been using teledoc? Well, I learned why I haven't. Because then when it came to getting my prescription, turns out the person on teledoc was not a licensed doctor.
Oh, goody.
So that was fun to deal with. How does that happen? So now I'm torn because teledoc was the easiest thing to deal with until it wasn't. until it wasn't a licensed doctor.
Very nice.
So sign them up. They got it taken care of. But in the meantime, I'm like trying to get this prescription to like have my ears stop it spreading. Like all I'm thinking about is this infection going to spread to my brain and I'm going to die because I got some doctor that's not even a doctor on telehealth. And anyway, let's take care. And then Christmas morning was the first day I woke up and I didn't have like a thing going on. Christmas miracle.
I'm very happy for you. That sounds.
I'm happy for me too.
I've had a history of ear infection and swimmer's ear that I could go a whole episode discussing, and I'm not going to touch it. It is a thing that I'm just glad I am through.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Growing out of stuff is all I can tell you.
I thought I had
It's not pleasant.
I thought I had a tooth infection at first at how bad it was because my jaw was like, it was pressing down onto my jaw.
And if you listen, you might know. I mean, that thing goes down and it starts affecting other stuff down here. No. Anyway,
I'm just glad it's over. I'm glad it's over. So if you're ever worried about me recording a podcast, there may be a scenario where I'm like, I can't even turn the lights on because I'm like, I can't function right now. And meanwhile, I'm in like meetings at work and everyone's like, are you okay? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm feeling great
totally.
today. I'm like, and then they're talking. I'm like, they just see me in the corner because it's like, I don't know. You've had it, Zach. There's like, every now and then it'll just start reverberating and you're like, oh, it's about to come.
Yep.
And
so
it's like,
you're getting the stuff that I hate so much about.
Oh God. So anyway, Christmas miracle. I'm happy that happened. So that's where I've been.
I'm glad you're here to discuss that and now promptly get the hell out of that part of this discussion.
Yeah. Good transition into quarterbacks, I might add.
Yes, I am dubbing this segment QB Palooza. And for anyone that's been in the know as of the last week and a half or so, it's been almost like a Christmas. No, you know what? The better comparison's like Hanukkah. It's been like presents every day.
There we go.
Got happy holidays. There we go. See, we're more than a Christmas show in here. And so, it's been a little bit of Hanukkah type of like drop a present one day or so of just some transaction goodies. And it's not just one team. We got 3 teams that are making some waves with some pickups all across the board for quarterbacks for different reasons right now. The big one and the top story, and we're just going to, write and bite into it because it's the latest in the whole thing, is the Battlehawks. It's the one I think everyone really wants to know. What the hell is Anthony Beck's plan with this quarterback room? Mm-hmm. AJ McCarron, messy divorce. Well, maybe more from AJ's perspective, but a divorce, it seems, or at least a parting of ways that maybe got a little rougher than it should have. And so you have Manny Wilkins that people think comes back. You aren't sure about what's happening with Brandon Silvers. They have apparently maybe Shavon Corderio. Maybe they bring their draft pick in. Finally, all was revealed on the 29th of this month, 8 days ago as of us recording this show. Mm-hmm. And
29th or the 19th?
Sorry, the 19th. Thank you.
There you go.
I am not.
I was like, I don't even think it's the 29th yet.
I am not in the future. I reside in the present, which is now the past on this video. No, they finally got their whole room down, and 2 of those names did show up. But, of course, one of them was, I think, the crown jewel that a lot of us in our Discord and in our own shows were wondering, is this a name that shows up? A guy that, needs, I think, the spotlight. And so, yeah, the quarterback room for the Battlehawks, as some of you may know, Manny Wilkins returned. They did pick up their 5th overall pick from this year's UFL draft in Siobhan Corderio from San Jose State and formerly Hawaii, but they also got former TCU Horned Frog, former runner-up to the national championship QB, and former Heisman candidate, let's not forget, Max Dugan.
Yeah.
They landed. So talk about, if we're talking prolific names, remember, Kellen Mond got picked up already this cycle and is heading to the UFL as well this year. One of the names a lot of people wanted to see come too. Max Dugan now shows up.
Yeah.
Big time stuff. Anthony Beck answering the call, a lot of pressure on him. And keep in mind, the Battlehawks market, this isn't like, okay, you know, you've got a busy sports market, like say, we'll compare Detroit, where, you know, the Lions are dominating a ton, you know, and Michigan has to find its way. No. The Battlehawks are like considered a big time property. Sports radio, they take this drama seriously, and they ask, who's the guy going to come in to try and get us a championship? Dugan's presence, big freaking deal. But what's even bigger to me, Stefan, is there to me is a legitimate quarterback competition. And I think what we've been talking at least on our PFN Discord is, I think there is claims for each one of these 3. I have 2 that I think are more realistic, but still, all 3 of them have a case in this training camp to be like, hey, I could come out with this at the end of training camp and start.
That's what we've learned. Anything can happen in spring football, right? And sometimes it's funny, right? Especially when you're forming the leagues, maybe less so now, but when these leagues are forming, I always think back to like year 1 of the XFL, year 1 of the AF, year 1 of the spring league, year 1 of the USFL. And especially, I think when you and I did like a quarterback, ranking the quarterbacks. And by the end of the season, not one of those, maybe one of the quarterbacks is still playing, right? You know, like, so you're right. It's anybody's game. Anthony Beck is playing a smart game, though. He's playing a smart game. He has a good rotation of guys that can compete with each other, where no matter what, at the end of it, he's probably going to have a good result and a good backup to fall back on, because as you know, anything happens in spring football, just because what you saw in training camp doesn't mean you're going to see it out on the field, to where, okay, you have a good amount of notes around these guys. And, you know, I know you hate it, Zach, but spring football, sometimes they throw a couple of these guys in, they rotate them in and out. I don't think we'll see that necessarily with St. Louis, but we could.
And I say this, and yet here Birmingham is only last year losing 1 game. They did split games. So, you know, but to my credit, they did pick the one that I thought they were going to pick at the end of the day, who became the UFL, by the way, the UFL MVP and the league MVP by the end of the year. So just saying, you know, do have that feather in my cap, but it does bring up that conversation again about, you know, reps, because one of the big talk of the town when AJ was let go, we talked about this and said, what do you want? What is the philosophy? Is it, do you get a new guy in that needs the reps, or are you getting the flashy, you know, like maybe somewhat NFL vet, you want to get wins, or are you trying to find a mix? Which personally, I think you want to find a mix. And I think Anthony Beck sent a message to say, hey, I'm getting the best of like all 3 facets. I brought back the vet that's been on my roster that knows Bruce Gradkowski's system. You know, I brought in a NFL guy in Max Dugan, who's been a practice squad guy for a few years now, but I think is ready to see what his other options are and try to put himself out there to maybe get another step up, maybe become a backup QB or something like, you know, we've seen with Adrian Martinez, where he's now like fighting actively to be the backup in New York. We've seen he's been getting some action and getting more up on the roster, I've noticed this year. And then you picked up the guy that I think, you know, was looking for that opportunity, but I think also has a lot of potential that didn't get seen by NFL eyes as much, in a Siobhan Corderio, who now was drafted by the Battlehawks, but was originally scheduled to be with the Sea Dragons before they did the merger. But all three pieces, different aspects of how they do this, but I think it definitely spreads out well to where you will find your right guy at the end of the day. Like, I completely shuts down, I think, any of the anxieties that Battlehawks fans had about letting AJ go, is because all three of them either had flashes or have high potential to fill that void. And they're still bringing back a lot of their amazing specialty players that, let's be honest, as long as you get someone that's a decent arm talent, they're going to do some damage. They'll still be a threat in the XFL next year, barring injury or something. So, yeah, big time swing. And also, big time PR move for the team in the league, because announcing all three, kind of genius when you have the biggest team by fan base in the league making that news in the sports world kind of resonate. Big deal. That was a really smart PR move. Bravo to whoever constructed that. I thought that was genius for someone that's starting to do social media more that side. I thought that was a kind of genius play. So bravo. I got to give claps. And I know you appreciate that too. You've taught me some tools of the trade since we've started partnering.
I was saying earlier, I always appreciate a good marketing person or a good marketing technique. So yeah, you can't be mad at it. And it's nice. It's just nice to see the league continue to bring news throughout the off season, right? And because there's been years. I mean, even just last year. Last year was a little bit different. There was a merger going on, but do you remember there was nothing?
It was dead.
Nothing coming out at this time. People were trying to get the information. And there was bits and pieces that would come out and this and that and the other thing. And even in the years prior, this is always the dead zone. Whereas I think this year is the year that they did it pretty well. USFL going from season 1 to season 2 did a pretty good job as well. But this, I mean, with the Ken Wisenhunt drop and the schedule footprint, and now in December, kind of getting QB news and, teasing that schedule, teasing it, which, we'll talk about here in a little bit. I think that things are all moving in the right direction. I'm looking forward to another year of spring football, like just not even having to worry about, is it going to play? Is it not going to play? Are they going to make it through the season? I don't have those worries anymore. Now, at the end of the season, we'll see, right? We'll see. How do I feel at the end of the season? But going into the season, I mean, with the AAF, I don't know, it's 50-50. Are they going to make it through the season? Even with the XFL 2020, until they played, I was like, it's 50-50. 50-50 if they make it. But once they start playing, I mean, the XFL 2020 was on such a different level
from the
AAF and even some of the other guys that had tried in between the XFL 2001. So things are all moving in the right direction. You love to see it. We have some more quarterback news, though, too.
Yes.
What do we got? Birmingham Stallions?
We got two more names.
Yeah, okay.
Actually. One of them is mine, because I think this one's just fascinating because the room is insane right now. So the Michigan Panthers, they already had 3 on the roster. They brought EJ Perry, got signed back on, Danny Ettling's back. And so is Perkins as well. But, and pardon me as I'm trying to video messiness there. I don't know why I did that I got an itch. Anyway, whatever. Watch the video. You'll understand.
Yeah, get over it.
The Panthers decided we need all of them. We need all the quarterbacks. They picked up their 4th quarterback. Their 5th round pick in this year's draft, Rocky Lombardi, former Michigan State, former NIU quarterback, he's now signed on to the Panthers. So you have all 3 of the quarterbacks from the last 3 years combined, whether it's Ettling, Perry, or Perkins. And you bring in Rocky Lombardi and pick him up. Mm-hmm. Training camp for the Panthers is going to be stupid fun to see how this gets sorted out, because one of them's got to be let go.
Oh, sure.
And, it's funny. I don't know enough about, I know Rocky's basically been a guy that's been looking to, I think, find more film or something more professional, because, he had potential at Michigan State, jumped to NIU, good program in the MAC, and did okay, and tried to get an NFL stint in Cincinnati for a little bit before getting let go real quick in training camp. Seems like a guy that needs this league. Mm-hmm. But it's funny, all 3 of the people he's coming in with signing, you definitely tell him there's no guarantee he's making this roster. Right. Like, you're going to have to work for it. Like, all 3 of those quarterbacks, a lot of people love Perkins. I like Perkins a lot for the mobility, and that people feel like if he was in, maybe who knows? Maybe we finish the job against Birmingham. Not saying that would happen, but a lot of people in the Panthers fandom do feel that way. Danny Etling's had some solid moments too. EJ Perry, when he's calmed down, has shown he can be that guy. So fascinating offseason for the Panthers and what they've got to decide, what Steve Kaiser has to decide. Clearly there's a plan because he wouldn't have signed him on if he doesn't know. But like, I mean, 4 quarterbacks.
It tells me they're in it to win it, right? They don't want to leave any chips on the table. They were close last year, but close isn't good enough, right? And so you know what? If anything, it's going to add a little bit more competition to that quarterback room in training camp. Where you know what, like you said, one of these guys is going to make it. Is it going to be somebody that's there already, or is it going to be the new guy? Well, nobody knows until the end of that training camp. So, if anything, I think we'll see some positive results. I'm not going to speculate on who is going to get the job, but like you said, training camp for the Panthers should be fun, and my hope is we can get a little bit of insight either through James Larson or Jake Balls up in Michigan, or, you know, we'll have to see where they do their training camp because maybe it's not even going to be out there. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, good question.
So either way, I'm sure we'll hear news via one avenue of another, but this is going to be one to watch. Now I'm still waiting for that Houston Roughnecks big, huge signing to come through any day now. Any day now it's going to happen, Zach, and it's going to blow your mind.
I mean, here's the thing. I wouldn't be shocked if one of these quarterbacks is going to be a guy that, even though they get cut, immediately gets signed from waiver wires off of training camp, like either final cuts or like one of those first few waves that then sticks on a different roster. The Panthers have several arguments for who could be that person next year. Is what's nuts. So fun times ahead. I don't mind it. I got plenty of great options. I would say either workable to great options is how I should put it.
Yeah.
So I could go in a debate on this. I'm going to save it for a training camp debate later. And also, personally, I still want to do a little more video watching of Rocky Lombardi to see what I think about his game. You know, curious.
Yeah.
You know? Interesting pickup because it's a familiar college face. That's what, and I know him well enough. I'm a Big Ten MAC guy, so Rocky's very familiar to me in that regard.
Well, I kind of like too. It's a little bit of a local flair, you know. Michigan State, Michigan, playing in Michigan, you know.
And I'm wondering if that plays into it a little bit too. Familiar face, you know, could be a case too. You know,
100%
that way. I could see that.
Yeah,
definitely see that. Finally, and I think, you know, this one I would say has made, you know, a lot of people just happy. Again, it wasn't, maybe not as much as like the Battlehawks with relief, but, you know, when you're the king, you want to see that your spot at behind center is stabilized so that you don't have to worry about losing your crown. And it's funny, you know, Matt Corral was last year he kind of had to take, in a way, that backup role that we've seen in the past where, you know, you're playing as a team player under Skip Holtz is the deal. But as we've seen with the case of Alex Magoo, you're rewarded handsomely when you get your turn. And when they signed Matt Corral, and that's what they did this week, it was almost like a Christmas present for those Birmingham and Horseman faithful out there. I'll be honest with you. This is his Alex Magoo moment. Is this season? He's been sitting. He sat back there. He lost the competition, Adrian Martinez. But much like how the arc has gone in previous seasons, we go back to 2022. Crucial plays and crucial contributions from your backup quarterback get you to the spot where you get another ring. And I think they know that he can do it. It's another year under the system with Skip. He knows Skip now more, being on the sideline. I really like they got him back. Year 2 Matt Corral, I'm saying watch out, man.
Yeah.
Because it was already kind of close between those two. Like, give him another year.
Well, he knows the system even more. He's been to a championship, won a championship, right?
Yep.
He's kind of got all the pieces under his belt, and you still have Skip Holtz leading the way, which I mean, until he isn't, he is the king of spring, right? He is the guy that seemingly knows the formula to put together a winning team. And I mean, good on them. Good on them. So you know what, Stallions fans, going into the new year with something to be happy about, at least you should be. This is a big signing. I mean, and we'll see. There's probably going to be some new pieces they continue to pick up because that's just what the Stallions do. Training camp is coming up soon. But so we'll see kind of who's some more supporting cast here for him in that regards. But yeah, I mean, if you thought the Stallions were going to cool down going into this year, it doesn't look like they're taking their foot off the gas at all.
Not one freaking bit. I mean, they've been busy too. They've been doing a good job getting guys in and doing things to get that roster built. But look, in this league, I mean, I think we've seen it. The line play is huge. It's always in every league, but even more so in this one. But man, having a versatile, athletic quarterback, that's been a Birmingham. I mean, that's been Birmingham's specialty. I mean, Jamar Chase, I also feel like is that, has been in that, and he was in 2022. I know it was a little different. They had it split up. Magoo did come in and save their championship season, but Alex Magoo, Adrian Martinez being basically the prototype of what Magoo was the year prior. And Corral has shown that as well. He is a mobile guy. He doesn't mind running. He doesn't mind throwing on the run. It just felt like he wasn't as ready to throw or pull the trigger on deep plays. And I think if it's like Alex, where we saw a similar deal, I think he's going to take it and run with it now that he's comfortable and buys in even more. So, like I said, watch out. This is Skip Holtz and Zach Potter doing their thing again.
Yep.
It doesn't surprise me anymore, but it's because it's just so consistently good. They just know how to do this every single time.
Yeah. Now, hopefully it won't impact my mission this year of going 12-0. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be hard. Now, credit though. Hey, you do have one feather in your cap. Houston teams, they always seem to be the tricky one. Not last year though, but throw a G on that helmet.
That's what they need to do. That's what we just need to go all in. Anyway, well, I'll have that conversation once I get to TDECU. I'll just start throwing those gambler stickers everywhere.
Be like, hey, can we like have like a brand night? Just like roll the
see what happens. Yeah, just see what happens. Throw the gamblers on the field and just see what happens. And all of a sudden, 12-0, all in. All in. Just like the Roughnecks this year anyway. It doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. We don't even need a ball in the game to win. We're going to win.
QB Palooza is currently in this state. There is probably going to be more. As I think I will say, Pat Ruffino in our Discord brought up the best. Guys got to figure out what their jobs are next year, and it's only going to get more chaotic. Training camp's coming. It's a lot closer than you think. Guys are going to make some decisions here soon.
Yep.
So a lot more is on the table. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be good.
Transactions are already getting better. It's going to just keep being that. It's just bounds on bounds on bounds on bounds.
Hell yeah.
Is all.
You know what would be the perfect way to end the year, Zach?
What is that?
One of my, and I think the people that listen / watch this show's favorite segment. We like to we're going on vacation, Zach. You and I, we're about to pack up the bags, get in the car. Keep it down back there. I'll turn this thing around because right now we're heading to the speculation zone. Welcome to the speculation zone. And here we are. We're talking about something big, something that everybody's been asking about, something that everybody's been talking about. People have been pondering. People have been wondering, where the heck is the UFL schedule? Well, we're going to speculate on where it is, when it's coming, why it's not here, all that stuff involved. And, not to steal your thunder, but there are reports out there that we're going to get the schedule before the end of the year. I'll let you kind of go into more details. You probably know more on all that. I agree. I think we'll probably see it before the end of the year. Depending on when this releases, maybe I'll release this episode sooner because I was going to release it on Well, anyway, we'll get into that. So what do we know about when the schedule's released? And let's start there, and then we'll go from there.
So longtime reporter in this space and insider for the UFL insider for SI, Mike Mitchell. So he's already been reporting that the game plan is to release the schedule on the 29th of December during week 17 of the NFL season. So that's part of it. And then that'll be on Fox. And then on ESPN, they'll do it during one of the bowl games. The report he has given is that it's during the Michigan-Alabama ReliaQuest Bowl on New Year's Eve. So if you haven't read that report or if you missed it, here's us catching up again on it. And, I think the bigger question we were having here is, why is this thing taking so long? Because, we went through this last year with the merger where a lot of us, I think, felt like and hypothesized that the merger taking so long and then having it delayed where they were getting all the infrastructure together hurt the ticket sales. And to me, I'm surprised they didn't try and drop the schedule before Christmas to capitalize on the holiday season. However, and I want to hear your thoughts on what you think might be going on, but I have some theories why they waited this long.
Okay.
Is all. I'll wait until you have your thoughts before I put it out there.
Well, no, I say go into your thoughts. I don't want to.
Okay. I don't want to talk off.
No, talk away.
Zone.
No. Go on. I'll riff off of you. Yeah.
So here's the thing: networks control so much of the schedule, and we already know about the Friday night stuff going on. You've seen in the teasers that Fox has already referenced FS1, so expect FS1 broadcasts to be more uppity on the docket. I think this year is what I would guess. But if you read any sports media stuff, Fox is kind of busy with a lot of spring content. And I've already brought up on the show before IndyCar, how it's a big deal. They are heavy invested in IndyCar. It's not every week, but they're big events. They are right now prioritizing IndyCar as a top dollar item. And so you have to schedule around that. Well, this is a curveball I found out during the Christmas week that I also think is hurting and what maybe has delayed it a bit more. So, Stefan, have you heard of Live Golf?
Oh, yeah.
The Saudi Arabian backed big money golf tournament that kind of, I would say, shake and rattled the golf industry.
Yeah.
And as the PGA had it scared, supposedly is trying to merge with them. Well, the big talk on the town in all the media spaces for the industry, and that you can look this up, it's already been talked about on some of the bigger ones like Deadline and I believe Variety. Minimum Front Office Sports is where I read the analysis. Fox, are currently in the final stages of finalizing with Live Golf their TV contract. And why do I bring this up? So if you go to Live Golf's website right now, and I'll go through this. You can check it on your end, Stefan, when we do this. But do this with us while we're talking. You'll see what I'm meaning. Now, unlike IndyCar, where their season is much more spread out, and I think it's more. And remember, IndyCar's schedule starts in May. They don't. They are like, well, yeah. It's got their more presence in May. I would say. Live Golf has a lot more going on.
Yeah.
In May, June, March, it's all over the place.
Yep.
So it's not finalized, but my thought was they have to balance this stuff out and they have to figure out what they're doing with these weeks is my thing.
Yeah.
IndyCar's one thing, adding an entire golf tournament where, by the way, I did double check this. They are putting main events on Fox. So you have to consider the weekend dates when you're doing this.
Yep.
That's what I think is held it back more, is not only IndyCar being the big money ticket, but you added another property. Fox has, ever since they've gotten the USFL, they have been cramming stuff into spring. Like mad. And it just is another example. So I think it's just another broadcast deal thing that has just pushed some stuff back they didn't maybe foresee.
Mm-hmm.
And I will put my 2 cents in. I really want them to not next year do the same thing again. They really need to sell tickets by December.
Yeah.
Like this isn't just me. Like
especially for that Christmas market, like you're saying, you're leaving free money on the table by not having tickets available.
Well, and look, I know this isn't complete apples to apples, but like, how you guys know this and this. I follow the arena schedules a lot. And, one thing that I am appreciating they do is they know that people want to buy these tickets and they want to get them out. And, if you wait past a certain holiday date, people expend funds. They reset this stuff. They have to hold back cash. Season ticket holders want to buy, and get their stuff out of the way a lot of times. It can be deposits. You can pay as you go, I've seen, but, you don't want to, like, are you really, and I know that UFL tickets are cheaper, but do you really think it's easier after Christmas to then tell your spouse or your girlfriend or your parents or whatever, or if you're doing it by yourself, whatever, but like whoever you're with to be like, hey, you don't mind if I drop a few $100 on season tickets? Like, come on. That's where I'm like, you got to get these out earlier.
100%.
To me.
Yeah.
Here's how I do it. Much like the XFL did in 2020. Do the schedule first, then do the broadcast schedule.
Yep.
That way you spread out the announcements. You aren't just doing one shot. You can save the networks to be a completely different conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess where there might be a difference is for what you just brought up is that this is the problem that they have is the broadcast schedule is even having a spot that they can put it on. Cause again, I don't know the ins and outs of the relationship with ESPN, but we'll assume ESPN says, okay, here are the spots we have open for you versus what spots do you need?
Yeah.
Right. And so if they know that, and then now they got to kind of cross that with, okay, well, we have Indy, we have Live Golf potentially, we have XYZ. Okay, where can we fit this thing in? All while making sure that the venues are available at that time too, which we've already seen has become an issue with at least one game with San Antonio, right? We've seen that they're going to play one of their home games away in St. Louis, which we've talked about that on the show. That's just mean, especially because the last time they played there, they got shut out in the championship. Anyway, I'm not going to dive into that.
Well, yeah, now. I mean, if we want to, again, you guys know, and we know, we're going to rehash that for next year's, like what to do better next year.
Yep.
Don't play less home games than away games. That if we want to talk professionalism, you just don't do it. At least we're past that. We did that in the USFL for reasonings, and now we shouldn't be there at all. But, it is what it is for this year only, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
But anyway, schedules, I think we will get them before the end of the year. I'm not going to speculate on the exact timing or the game or the whenever it's going to come out, but I think we'll get it by the end of the year. I thought we would get it by the end of the year for a while. Hopeful that we would get it by Christmas is maybe the right word, but I don't know if there was ever a point where I'm like, yep, we're going to get it by Christmas. But I think we'll probably get it in the next week, and probably what we'll do, and no curtains on this show. We'll probably drop this episode Saturday. So then at least we're not talking about something that happened in the past.
I feel that.
For the potential that it does happen on Sunday, we drop it. It's Speculation Zone, by the way. It's Speculation Zone. If it drops Sunday, this will be out prior to. But, I mean, if it does drop, we have a whole new episode for next week for the debut. It'll be a great episode for debut episode of season 4 of the UFL podcast. I'll give you that much. So always something to stay tuned for. And one thing, and again, it is the end of the year, for the folks that say, hey, why aren't you guys on all the time? Well, as the news picks up, we're going to be on more often. And if you guys are, have been in the spring football space for, more than a year, you'll know January is generally when those things start kicking off. Around the ATU, we'll probably be doing some around the ATU soon. There's just Ducky's out because I'll mention his father passed away. So,
Yeah,
if you want to say anything
uh,
nice to Ducky, this is your chance. This is your opportunity.
Definitely extend thoughts, prayers, and condolences his way. It's, that's a hard thing to go through. Really,
Yeah.
I mean, not everyone has experienced that. Not everyone can say that they've had that they have had to go through that. And those that have, that's rough. I can't relate. I can't relate to that. So
I know. And then James is going, so he had a death in his family as well. And so we were originally going to do the best of as like a live ATU, but this is why we're doing it this way. And so get over it. Don't be mad. Things happen. Life happens.
We're going to get together and we'll have some laughs later, but it's not the time or place right now for that.
Yep.
So, but you and I, it's good to catch up for this. But by the way, last thing for any of the scheduling stuff, while I was looking through the IndyCar schedule, fingers crossed that I can get a double up weekend in Birmingham. May 4th, Barber Motorsports Park, Sunday afternoon, IndyCar Main Series NTT's going there. Now, hey, maybe I'm the scheduling god in the UFL and they schedule an away game, but say they schedule a Saturday game.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I'm doing a whole weekend, and that's my weekend. I'm going to Birmingham this year because I missed last year. I'm going this year. So that would be my weekend, May 4th. I am crossing my fingers that weekend that I can just double up on sports events.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
And
then you get to celebrate Cinco de Mayo in Birmingham.
See?
Sign it up. I'm down with that.
There we go.
See, this is why I don't know if you know this, Zach. I made my life real easy. So I got married on Cinco de Mayo. So I never forget my wedding anniversary. So it's Cinco de Mayo, the day after Star Wars Day too. So see, I got all sorts of reminders in my head. I'll never forget my anniversary. It's great. It's amazing.
You two just skill levels right there.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know you as well. I don't know if I even knew you no, I definitely didn't know you at the time. But when we got married, our invitations were, I don't know if I have one around here, but it was an invitation to an open bar, and then real small in the bottom it said, and a wedding.
And a wedding.
It was on Cinco de Mayo, right? People get drunk. I don't drink as much anymore, but I did then. I
freaking love that, man. That's good.
Oh, man. What a year. What a fun year. I can't believe this is the last episode of season 3 of the UFL podcast.
I know.
I can't believe it's our 4th year doing the best of, right?
Yeah. This would be the 4th.
That's crazy. So. And I think this is actually the 5th year I've done the best of. It's just the 4th year I did it with you. The first year.
And again, like, remember, our original best of was basically the pilot episode of this show. That was to see if we could even do this or we would do this well.
Well, the first best of I did was such a monster shit show. You go back and watch it, but I was using XSplit, which is kind of like OBS, right?
Yeah.
And it just did not like so many cams on the stream at the same time. So it was like instantly everybody froze but me. It was with me, Jim Meunier, which if you know Jim's the 50-50 when you go live with him. And so he's like, it's all dark. He's leaned back in a chair holding up his phone, right? Tron Hawkins, who like got on and like instantly his cam froze for the rest of the episode. So he's like,
oh man,
like one of those things. And do you remember the XFL delivery guy?
Yes.
He was on it.
Yeah, because I used to love interacting with him on back when it was XFL 2020 and AAF days. That was he was so fun as like the persona, and then just completely disappeared. I hope he's doing well. By the way,
he's doing good. He's up in Dallas. I need to try to reach out to him. Maybe we can. I'll try to connect with. I should have reached out to him last year because we did spring stock there. I didn't even think about it. But no, he's got. You know what? He's got a family, and so that's the thing. Spring football, you really got to dedicate time to do like the extra stuff. And at a certain point, there's a lot of people that do it, and we're like, well, I got like kids I got to take care of. I got to this and I got to that. Because Zach, you know, there is a certain amount of sacrifice that you make to do something like we're doing.
You're not wrong.
It takes hours a week. And then if you're crazy like us, you add a website into it and another live show and this and another thing. I mean, by the end of the season, it'll take its toll on you. So I mean, this is why I tell people, if you want to do a podcast, you should do it. If you're doing a podcast, continue to do it. Because I want to give as much of that, what's the right word? Not emphasis, but enthusiasm, whatever the right word is there. Encouragement. Because I do know it's a hard thing to do, and it's a hard thing to continue to do. That's why, like the Mark Perrys, for as much as, we've bantered online, I have a great respect for him. Why? Because he's still doing the damn thing.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Fuel Network guys, A-Train and Dirty. Dude, there's few guys that have been doing this since 2019. And I think they might be the only other ones besides myself. They're trying to think 2019 days, because the XFL podcast or the XFL show, whatever they were, they're gone. All of those team podcasts from 2019 are gone, like the Guardian Post and the Wild Talk, right? So I'm trying to think, like, who? And there's some bigger names that have been around for a while. I'm not going to discount them, but I'm like, okay, who has been around? And this is really Mark Perry, Dirty, and A-Train. That's it. And so, I mean, I love them or hate them. You got to respect them.
OG the OGs, that's really it. Yeah.
So, I mean, you can like people, you can hate people online, but you should respect them. Because, I mean, from firsthand, and Zach, you'll agree, this isn't easy. This is not fun. Well, it's fun. It's fun. It's not easy.
I'm going to shut you down if you say
otherwise. It's time consuming. It'll take its toll on you. It is fun though. I didn't mean that, but anyway.
I mean, it's funny because, like, if we're going to talk podcasting, so like I get people from time to time, and you probably do the same. They ask like, hey, what do I got to do? What do I got to get? I mean, like, I always tell people first, like, hey, as long as you treat it, you enjoy it, you're having fun with it first, it's a hobby to you, if you drive, be damned, of course, but like, always put it in the frame to me of having fun before anything else.
Yep.
And you're always going to be golden.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I tell people that straight up. I'm like, look, have fun. If you're having fun, then you're still, to me, doing all right. It's when it doesn't become fun anymore that you should question, hey, should I be doing this? Is it something that I'm okay with? That's always my gauge with this. I've always had fun with podcasting. It goes back to like with radio when I did it in college. So, and plus it's football.
Yeah.
It's the only place, it's the only platform I get to talk football and feel like I can share it with a bunch of other folks,
Yeah. Well, I'll say this too. If you're going to do a podcast and you decide to get a host, you can only be so lucky to get someone like Zach too, because I'll tell you, and Zach, you'll know, we're not going to mention names, but not everybody is this dependable. You can't always hope that somebody's going to be there and actually record with you on a week-to-week basis, or that you're going to like them. So there's like two aspects, so like there's all sorts of like things that go into this to where I feel like we got lucky.
Yeah.
Right. You were one of these guys. I think I told you this before, but you were one of these guys. I remember around the time that I reached out to you, you were doing shows for a while, and I was always surprised that you didn't get the amount of attention that I felt you deserved. Not that you didn't get a lot of views, but you didn't get as much as I think you should have. Well, and so I'm, this show helps. I hope. I don't know. But
Well, another tip. Again, put it in the frame of you're enjoying it. You're doing it for the sake of, if you're having fun with it. The extra mile is where you really test yourself on how much you want to make your show work. Because there's some people that do way more than even us with the advertising angle of it, and I just go, bravo to you, because I do not have that mental capacity to just go.
I go up and down. Sometimes I'm like,
I'm impressed, but it's like your professional career. When I talk with you, for those that ever have met this man's professional career is nuts, but he loves all the same.
I wouldn't have it any other way. I say this, and I said this to people I work for. If I went and worked somewhere else, I think I'd be bored, and I think they would think I'm crazy. I have like this weird, I grew up in a blue collar household, but I have a white collar job. Right. And so I treat it like a blue collar job though. And so I don't know, there's for people that ever had a blue collar job will probably understand what that means, but there's like a certain like weird work ethic thing that goes into it. And also I'm just dead set on retiring early. Sometimes it looks better than others. Sometimes,
It's a great goal to have.
I mean, if you don't have it, you'll never made it. Right. And if you do have it, you might not meet it, but at least you tried. Same with doing this show. If we didn't do this show, we'd never be able to do any of the things that we have been able to do. By doing the show, it was no guarantee that we'd get to do them, but we would have never done them if we never did it.
For a lot of wonderful life experiences,
all of those things. I mean, the Spring Stock 2 is still one of the craziest things to me, right?
that will be, that's going to be a highlight of my life right there. Just all the stuff that, I think the trust that was given to us is what still impresses me. And the fact that we executed it damn near to a perfect extent. Is what will impress me.
With like zero planning.
Exactly.
No, I say zero planning, but there is plenty of planning that go involved. But Zach, you know more than anybody. I'm the master of no notes, nothing, being tired, being grumpy, cameras on, let's roll. And all of a sudden I'm good. I wouldn't have it any other way. But another fun year.
Funny enough, the calmest lead up we've ever had to a show was last year.
Yeah.
with no technical issues or one of us deciding to do a freak out for 5 seconds.
I know. I like freaking out though. It's always funny because there's always somebody in the crowd that gets to see the before the camera madness of me where I'm like, son of a bitch. And I'm going nuts. And all of a sudden it works. I'm like, all right, we're good.
Oh my God.
Oh man. Any final, we're like 2 hours into this bad boy.
It's a big one. It's a
end
big
of the year episode. It's a good way to cap things off. Any final thoughts though, before we head into the sunset, for our final show of the year?
Nah, my only thing is, hey, let's let the good times roll, everybody. Let's just keep letting the good times freaking roll and come join the ride. Year 4 starts next episode. We're glad you're with us.
Oh, I'm feeling good. And you know what? One final thing before we go, make sure you follow us on social media at UFL Podcast, at Zach Kyleman, at The Ref Says. We're on all the things, the Facebook, the TikToks, all of them. We're over there. Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. That's where we're probably the most active. Get signed up. Well, you can find all the links. Click the Discord. Click the discounts. There's a whole bunch of links down in the description. Click them. And if you want to get ready for season 4 of the UFL, go and watch all of season 4 of the UFL podcast. Let me add that extra word on there. Go watch all of season 3.
And I think we'll work on that super cut for season 3. That's something we can do. You and I will talk. I'm doing, you know how it is. I'm doing more editing. You're doing editing. We'll get it together.
We'll get there. So something else to look forward to. And also, if you haven't checked it out, go check. We played Maximum Football. That was fun.
That was a blast. We need to do another one of those. We need to do another one of those for sure.
100%. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us for another fantastic year of the UFL podcast. Looking forward to season. Couldn't end it without another bump to the microphone. Looking forward to another fine season of the UFL, another fine season of doing the UFL podcast, another year of PFN. So until next time, guys, sign you up.